Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mini Scroll, the daily internet culture podcast bringing you the biggest stories from social media, the creator economy, and the digital space every Monday through Thursday. I'm your host, Lauren Meisner, the founder of the youth digital media brand, Centennial World. Welcome back to Mini Scroll, everyone. I hope you guys are having a good day. I know a lot of our listeners are in the US, and I know it's a very stressful day for you guys, and my thoughts are with you, but I am here today to give you guys a distraction, hopefully, 15 minutes of reprieve from the anxiety of everything going on with the election. So let's just get right into the stories. Oh, also, I am feeling much better today. I made a comment on YouTube about how, yesterday, I felt like I was very low energy. I just wasn't feeling very well yesterday, but I am feeling much better today, and I so appreciate all the comments and well wishes, and everything is fine. I literally was just having one of those days. I was super sleep deprived. I was just a little bit sluggish and just feeling down. You know, when you just have one of those days, but I am back. I am energetic, and I am back to be the light for some of you guys in possibly a very stressful day. Okay, the first story that I have for you guys is that Casey Neistat is addressing his David Dobrik documentary once again, and this time he's kind of changing his tune. So in 2022, it was announced that YouTuber Casey Neistat had been putting together a documentary about David Dobrik, and it was debuting at South by Southwest. Casey followed David around to kind of figure out how David became one of the biggest YouTubers and what that rise to fame was like, his process, all of that. However, during filming with David, the vlog squad, and obviously David was the leader of the vlog squad, were quote unquote canceled when that insider article came out detailing an alleged sexual assault by David's friend and vlog squad member Dom, and some other members were allegedly present for it as well. And then I think this was actually before the article came out, but the kind of backlash or the blowback from Jeff Wittick's excavator accident kind of started to happen after the insider article came out. So Jeff was seriously injured by David while they were recording a vlog for David's channel. So Casey apparently included all of this in the documentary, and that apparently ruined Casey and David's relationship. So 2 years on from when it premiered at South by Southwest, Casey still will not release the documentary. He's been asked a few times on different podcasts where it is, and at first he was saying the holdup was because he was looking for a bigger distributor. Now, however, in a new interview with John Uche, posted a couple of days ago, also, sorry if I said that wrong. I know he's such a famous digital creator interviewer, and I should know how to say his last name. Forgive me if I did not say it correctly, but in this interview, Casey has admitted that he is hesitant to release the documentary because he wants to protect David. So he also revealed that he spoke to the woman who accused Dom, David's friend, of sexual assault in 2022, and he feels responsibility to her to share her story, but he is basically still choosing to protect David. He said he feels conflicted about that, but he kind of made it seem like it was this not a subconscious desire to protect David, but he was kind of, I think, implying that it's not a necessarily full-on decision of his. He just has been hesitant to release it, and he thinks it's probably because he's still trying to protect David somewhere deep down. So Casey and David are not on speaking terms, and this revelation has made a lot of people kind of side-eye Casey even more. In interesting perspective, though, I saw a comment saying that Casey is not protecting David. He is protecting himself because he's scared of David. And I think that's probably valid. I think he's probably scared of David's fan base because even though David is, nowhere near as relevant as he was before all of this happened, he still has a massive fan base. He still, has rabid fans that I would argue probably feel even more protective over him now than they once did after all of this stuff happened. And I'm sure he's also scared of legal ramifications from David. So I don't know, I just kind of accepted that we were not going to ever see this documentary. And I don't really know if I care to see it. I mean, obviously, if it comes out, I will watch it so I can talk about it for you guys. But aside from that, like, I don't have any interest. To me, David Dobrik is like so irrelevant now. And I just think everything that happened with the Vlog Squad was like so icky. I'm not interested in consuming the perspective of the perpetrators in these situations, in both like Jeff's accident, in Dom's sexual assault. Like, I'm not interested in hearing that side of things. I'm interested in hearing the victim side. And I think it is pretty messed up that Casey won't release it or like do a re-edit or something if he is worried that he's being like too harsh on David or whatever, if he's worried about like legal ramifications. But like, at least do what you said you were going to do with, I think they called her Hannah in the article. I don't think that's her real name, but with Hannah, where you said you were going to help her tell her story, and she presumably sat down for him and spoke to him, and that would be very challenging to do. If something like this happened to you and then she got this kind of media storm around her with the Insider article, again, I know she was anonymous, but it would have been incredibly difficult to tell the journalist that story and then watch everything unfold off the back of that story, watch all the criticism against her, watch how all of these people, this like house of cards kind of crumbled after that story broke. And that would be difficult to watch, even though you would also maybe feel a little bit vindicated. There would be a lot of, I'm sure, guilt and shame associated with that. So to ask her to sit down and tell her, like, reiterate that story, relive that experience, I'm sure, what it was like to speak with Insider and watch that fallout. Like, I think it is his duty to her to bring that to life. All right, the next story that I have for you guys is it's like a half story. Dave Portnoy and Josh Richards are releasing a diss track on Zach Bryan called The Smallest Man. So this is not out yet. It will come out tonight. But yeah, they have made a music video, it looks like. It's like a full diss track. Brianna reposted the teaser to her stories with the eyes emoji. And yeah, this is obviously just Dave capitalizing on when he called Zach the smallest man. Is it the smallest man who ever lived? Or the smallest man alive? That Taylor Swift song. I actually listen to that song every once in a while. I should know it. But anyways, he called him that on Twitter, which was a nod to Zach Bryan getting in trouble and being an idiot, and tweeting out that he prefers Kanye over Taylor recently. So yeah, Dave has been on an anti-Zach Bryan rampage a little bit since he broke up with Brianna. And this is, I guess, the next iteration of that. Anyways, this feels on brand for everyone involved. And I am not anticipating anything great from the song, from the diss track, but I will definitely listen. Okay, the next story is that Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo have addressed that Kardashian private screening of Wicked. So this is actually from one of my industry friends, Laura Macia. She's the entertainment editor at Pedestrian here in Australia, and she interviewed the Wicked cast on Monday when they were here for the Australian premiere. And she asked Ari and Cynthia to clarify what went down with that controversial Kardashian screening. So in case you weren't across it, the Kardashians posted photos a couple of weeks ago with Ari and Cynthia at one of their homes because they basically came to give them this private pre-screening. The house was decorated to the nines with Wicked vibes. It was like a Wicked themed festival or something. It was so wild. And in one of Kim's videos on social media, she said, "I just came home and look what Cynthia and Ariana set up for us." So this prompted a lot of backlash. A lot of people thought that this was part of the Wicked marketing plan to do this screening and have the Kardashians post about it, like an undisclosed ad basically, which honestly, it could have been. It could have been. And people were also saying that the Kardashian kids have endless special experiences, and it would have been way more impactful from a PR perspective if they did these lavish private screenings with the cast, at a children's hospital or something like that, which I actually completely agree. I think, of course, the reach of the Kardashians, if they did work with them, I don't know, it's possible. I don't really know. I'll get into what they said about it. I don't necessarily think that Universal paid the Kardashians to post about it, but I think regardless, it's still, reach and audience and PR for them. And I think it would have been much better PR for Universal for Wicked if, they had done something that was like really meaningful like that. Also, like, this is an aside, but there were also a lot of questions about like what went down at the screening, because Ari and Kim obviously have this history, both having been involved pretty seriously with Pete Davidson. So that would have been interesting to be a little fly on the wall. I'm assuming they just like completely ignored it. I'm sure they've met a million times. But anyways, yes. So Laura asked them about this in their interview, and they clarified that they did not set up the decor for the Kardashians. Quote, "We'd set up a couple of other screenings for superfans and for our families. So when they said they wanted to see it, Universal was kind enough to set it up for us," Ariana explained. Ariana said, "We walked in and there were so many decorations. We were like, oh my goodness, Kim, this is too much. Thank you so much. This is so nice of you." And she was like, "Thank you guys. I thought you guys did this." It turns out it was Universal Studios, which was so beautiful, it felt like our wedding day. So that was interesting because it gave us like a little bit of insight into what happened here. So yes, it doesn't necessarily sound like it was a paid opportunity, like it was a paid collaboration between the Kardashians and Universal to promote Wicked. I mean, and of course, like if the Kardashians contact Universal and they're like, "Hey, can we have a private pre-screening?" Like, are you going to say no if you're doing these anyways? Like, probably not. Like, they're such a powerful, influential family, but I still think the PR around it was kind of messy. That's just my opinion. All right, and the last story that I have for you guys, it's a little bit of tech news. Netflix is removing most of its interactive titles from December 1st. So from December, Netflix is removing interactive titles like Black Mirror Bandersnatch and Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Kimmy versus the Reverend. This news comes after the service announced it would no longer be investing in creating this format of content. Journalist Jay Peters for The Verge argues that this is another example of Netflix struggling to find its footing in the gaming category. Quote, "The delistings are yet another example of Netflix struggling to find its footing in gaming. While Netflix has a robust slate of mobile titles that are increasingly based on its own reality TV shows, the company recently shut down its AAA game studio before it released a game. And Netflix's gaming streaming beta is still in testing despite expanding to the US more than a year ago." That's really interesting insight. I actually didn't even know that Netflix was trying to get into gaming. I mean, we used to say this all the time, Jordy and I on this podcast, but like, can the platforms just like stick to their niche? Can they just stick to what they're doing? Like, do you really need like the entire market share because you just like are so desperate for more money? Like, that's what it appears, at least as consumers, that is how it appears. And I get it, there is a ceiling. Netflix is probably pretty close to reaching that ceiling. So they're trying to expand and figure out new ways. But like at some point, it's just like, this is corporate greed. Like, let's chill out. But I also think from a business perspective, it's interesting. Like, I like hearing things like this because obviously as a business owner myself, I like reading about things that very successful companies have tried and failed at because it makes me feel better. It's like solidarity. I'm like, oh, me and Netflix, one in the same. No, but it's interesting from, like a corporate industry behind the scenes perspective to see it is normal to test things, to try things, and they just don't go the way that you planned. I mean, we have lots of examples of that in recent years in social media and stuff like that. When you think about IGTV, first one that comes to mind, what the fuck happened to IGTV? I fear YouTube Shorts might head down that path. I don't know. Is anyone scrolling through Shorts? I don't think so. Interesting insight here. I remember when Black Mirror Bandersnatch came out, it was like a big deal. So I guess they had a hard time recreating, kind of the flurry, the frenzy around that. Again, anyways, guys, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening to Mini Scroll. Please rate, review, and subscribe. Please rate us on Spotify. We're trying to get our Spotify reviews up. I love you guys, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.